Hi everyone, I'm Orlando Daga, and today I would like to introduce you about my last painting that actually is still fresh, and the name is Become Who You Are. This theme for me about the existentialism, and I always try to question myself, who am I, and like what is the purpose of life, and the identity that I feel sometimes I misunderstand, because most of the time I just we get also identified by things and about what we do, or by the family, or about everything that is actually surround us. But I think we sometimes miss who we really are. I mean, the essence of ourselves. So this feeling happen after an identity crisis. That for me is actually very important, because from this identity crisis you are actually questioning yourself if your life is getting into the right direction, or if you took the right decision in your life. But these are just a secondary problem, because if we really think about ourselves, we should question ourselves with the question, who am I for real? Of course, this is a very important question, and all the philosophy in Western and Oriental philosophy try to give an answer to this question. And my answers is my doing art. So let's say I try to represent this theme, and I try to explain who am I, trying to represent three different characters that, as you can see, they all have different structure inside, because they are represented by these different shape of window that I am using in order to analyze the structure that we have inside. And into these structures we actually can find empty spaces, and in these empty spaces we can feel that who we really are is not basically our body, or our beliefs, or our job, or our family, but it's actually who we really are is the empty space that we have inside, and when actually things are happening. So I believe that there is this kind of, we can call it glimpse of sometime during the meditation, when you lose yourself, you lose your mind, and you forget about your body, you can feel that there's a light coming out from the inside. So where is this light coming from? And it's a very important question, and I think it's worth to spend some time to have some consideration about this, because become who we are is also a relief, because we don't really to become anything, or from the society perspective, or from what for example our parents wanted us to do in our life, or we are not identified by our job or by our relationship. So the question is where is coming from this light? It's hard to explain by word. That's why I try to express with this painting. And of course you can see that also for me the most important part is the empty spaces inside. So inside the different structure that we all have, in this case I represent the three characters that can represent the whole humanity without gender, or without any kind of life purpose, but it's they are the representation of the self. So if we look at ourselves, and we look at our different life that we have, we actually find something that we have in common. So for me, what we have in common is actually this energy and this flow that is actually happening in the empty spaces when we realize that. I used this particular texture, is Chinese silk from Xinjiang. That is, for me, it catches my attention because I can see the divinity or something like related to God in these colors with the gold and the blue together. So become who we are is actually try to realize, instead of adding things in our life, try to remove all the things that we think are important, but in the end, when we are looking at the mirror, when we are really having a very hard identity crisis, we realize that there's something missing. There's something that we cannot understand fully who we really are. And this is actually a very important thing, and it's a very important question that we should always ask, because if we don't know who we are, how can we have an awareness on what we do, on what we will do in the future? So basically, it's like in this case, I try to represent how digging in ourselves, we find this light inside ourselves. No matter the different structure or no matter the different life that we are having, we all have this common ground, we all have this aspect inside of light that is coming from the inside. And for me this is very fascinating, because if we will be able to put some more effort in trying to discover about this light or like this energy that we have inside, most of our problem actually would just disappear, because we would see that everything is flowing, everything comes, everything goes, nothing really stays. So this emptiness and this awareness we should always keep in our mind, because as I explained, the matter of the different structure and the different, sometimes also prison that we create on ourselves, in ourselves, is just to contain and try to organize our life in a proper way, while actually there's no proper way. And this is a very big relief, because in this way all the pressure of like all our commitment or all our schedule actually is no matter, it doesn't really matter, or it's not too much important. That's why I'm very happy about this painting, and that's why also the identity crisis or like the existentialism is a very important thing in my doing art. So I'm sure that everyone is watching this video is having the same question. Sometimes we just forget about this question, but that's the primary question: who am I? And in order to answer this question, nobody can give you the answer of who you really are. It's like you just need to face what we have, what you have inside, the desire, the inner voice that is telling you the right thing. And this voice sometimes is like a contradiction to itself, but that's perfectly fine, because I believe that this flow doesn't really follow the logic mind, but it follows more the spiritual part of ourselves. And become who you are is actually the purpose of everyone's life. And become who we are with the presency, and like trying to discover at this present moment, just trying to close your eyes and find the different empty spaces that you have inside. And in these empty spaces is actually who you really are, because you realize that you're not a body, and at the same time you're not your mind, because your body is like changing every time, and also your mind is full of thoughts, and it's like sometimes actually is the creating these thoughts some anxious or like some fears, or something that actually brings you away from who you really are. So I believe that this become who you are, that of course is also in the temple of Apollo for the oracle. Before getting the oracle answer to everyone's question, the oracle would ask, know yourself, try to know yourself. But in this yourself, I'm not talking about Orlando Daga or Pinco Pallino, or like every kind of different name that you can have. But it's like trying to find the inner peace that we all have inside, and in this peace, in this awareness, is actually hide who we really are. Because we are just like a flow, we are just like an energy that is representing itself now, in this moment. And this energy, it may also change, and that's perfectly fine, because that doesn't change the principle of yourself. So in this painting I try to represent, I hope you can get what I'm trying to say, even though with the words it's very difficult sometimes to express, and sometimes it's difficult to explain from the logic standpoint. Why? Because who you really are is not from, it cannot come from a mental or like a mental thought, or cannot come from your logic perspective, neither from your body. So what is interesting for me is like try to find the inner space that we all have, trying to close your eyes and try to feel the heart beating and the soul when it's in peace at the present moment. And for me it's a very, very, very important thing that actually would solve most of our problems in our life, because most of the time the problems are coming from the logic mind, and are coming from our fears, or are coming from our worries. But actually this to try to think about the self and about the common ground that we all have, we share with the nature, with an animal, with a partner, with the universe, is actually talking about the same energy. So you can basically find in your daily action the self. In which way? Just trying to enjoy the presence, trying to enjoy the immediacy, or trying to get the immediacy of that moment. And in that moment I see that there's me standing straight and not thinking, and just let it go and let it flow through me, and let these empty spaces actually become the main subject of my painting in this case. Because for me this painting is basically a mirror where I can actually face myself first, but then also know a little more about myself, because before making this painting I didn't even know what was the final version of this painting. And that's also very fascinating, because sometimes the artist is not fully aware of what he's creating, but I believe that the final piece is I feel, for me, that is very powerful, because it's showing us the common ground and the common life that we all have inside, no matter the different structure of life and the different life that we have. So become who you are is the purpose of everyone, because this is actually what is the question. And it's the question, and it's difficult to give an answer, and I try with this video to give you some thoughts about actually letting you consider about who you really are. Who are you, basically? Not in terms of identity, not in terms of a subject, not in terms of your life, of your purpose, of your work, of your family. Who are you? What do you feel inside? Don't be afraid of the empty space that sometimes we always try to fill with things, but actually allowing the empty the emptiness, allowing this energy to flow through us in order to see the light that we actually share with the universe. So I hope you could get some glimpse, or like you could get some suggestion, or you can get like some feel something about what I'm just talking about. But most importantly is like trying to figure out and put into my shoes in order to see how this painting is important for me, in order to realize and in order to let me become who am, in order to let me become more aware of who am I in my essence, in my soul. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you can share it, and I hope you can subscribe to the channel, and I will share more insights with you with the next video. Thank you.